Guys, you are in for a treat today, Generation Wealth. I am so happy to have you here on the show, Cody. Thanks so much for joining us.
You're looking great.
Thank you.
I'm looking great. You're looking great. This is going to be a good podcast.
It is. I'm
All
excited.
right.
I'm excited to talk to people. And guys, this is why I say you're in for a treat. Because very few times do we talk to someone in real estate investing that's been doing it longer than they've been teaching it. And that's what I love about you. Like, you've literally been in the industry before you started to just teach about the industry. And so I just would love to share a little bit about, because everyone loves to know, like, they want to know what you're doing now, but they also want to know, like, did he build it himself? Did he come from zero? Like, what was his grind? Yeah. So I know you started from nothing. Can you just share just a small little intro of, like, who you were before you are the person now?
Yeah, Selfmade.
And then we can dive into what you're doing now, which I think is so impressive.
Selfmade, multimillionaire, Candy. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Grew up in Arizona, in Mesa. Didn't come from money or anything like that. I didn't even know I was going to do real estate, to be honest with you. Went to college for about an hour.
Yeah,
that lasted an hour.
Yeah.
And, I was a really little guy back then. Like, I didn't actually, grow until after high school. So I was really nervous, out of place. My backpack was like half the size of me on a college campus.
Gosh.
Like, I was like, this. I'm not doing this. So I think I made it for an hour in a biology class, and I just walked to my car, got in, and left.
Wow.
But one of the greatest things ever happened to me is I joined the military right after that. I didn't, my dad. I was in the Navy. My dad was in the Navy back in the 60s, and I kind of went and talked to him because when you're growing up, if you don't have successful people around you, for me, my dad was my consigliere. Yeah. He was the only coach or consultant I had. So I just said, "What do you think I should do?" And he said, "Well, if you're not gonna go to school, maybe start a business or go in the military or something." I was like, "Oh, I'll go talk to the recruiters." And next thing you know, they're good. They sucked me right in. And best move I ever made, because it pulled me out of this environment I was in. A lot of my friends, I was selling drugs, I was doing drugs, I was partying. Not a lot of ambition, not a lot of direction, and you get pulled out of that environment, and the military kicks your butt, forces you to level up, forces you to care about your things, all the things that anybody in the military, you don't like it when you're going through it, but you really respect it afterwards.
And grateful for it, right? When you look back?
Man, the travel, I've been to 30, 40 countries.
Wow.
And during that time, I grew 6-7 inches. I became a lady killer. It was fun. I was having a good
beautiful wife?
Yeah, I was traveling. Well, this is pre all that. And I was traveling all over the place. And it was just, I was having fun, and came out of the military, still didn't know what I wanted to do, but the military pays for your school. So I went back to ASU because I was homesick. So
awesome.
I was stationed in San Diego. So I moved back, and next thing you know, I go back to my dad because he's my consultant, right? What should I get a degree in? He's like, well, if you want to do business, you got to learn finance and accounting. And I'm like, dude, I'm horrible at math. That sounds awful. But I did it. And one day, my friend Jeremy flipped a house, made $80,000, bought a brand new Mercedes, and showed up to, he asked me, do you want to go to lunch? And he pulled us up in this car. And I'm like, dude, how'd you get the car? And he said, I flipped a house and made 80 G's.
My gosh.
I said, you're so full of crap. No way. And that's how I first discovered wholesaling, creative real estate, no money down real estate. I had never heard of this. I thought of real estate very traditionally. And the only guy I knew that ever did real estate, I didn't even know him, was Michael Polak. Do you know Polak? He's all around town. Start, especially on the east side of town. He owns almost all the street corners, all the commercial street corners. Polak awesome. Investments is his thing. He's kind of like a Donald Trump type character, really eclectic, weird, big flowy hair, just a great. I now have become friends with him. He's a great dude, but he was the only guy in town, the richest guy in town, that had his name all over buildings.
Wow.
So I always thought real estate was like that.
Yeah.
And then here I am realizing a broke college kid could hustle his way into flipping a house. And
so you started wholesaling.
I was really turned on by that concept. What they don't tell you, and you got to go back 18 years, 19 years, no YouTube, no videos, no Candy, teach me how to do this.
Right.
There was none of that. And so it's like, okay, I'm going to look in the back of a newspaper, find a guru flying to some seminar, show up with my credit card, buy books and tapes and courses and boot camps, and try to figure this thing out. And what they don't tell you is how overwhelmed you're going to get in the beginning. And it was like drinking from a fire hose. I bought everything, $30,000 worth of courses between flying around.
Wow.
Because everything was $2,000, $2,500, and they loved me. The gurus freaking love me. They were like, they saw me coming a mile away. I didn't even try anymore. I just threw my credit card up on the stage and waited for them to send me some stuff. But it took me 14 months to do my first deal. But once I did my first deal, and it only happened because I got a mentor. But once, because I tried on my own for 9 months, then I quit the business, and then I eventually got back in, and then I found a mentor, and then 2 months later, I did my first deal. That first deal changed everything, and I became a wholesaler. And that was deal 1 through deal probably 600 were all just flipping contracts. Yep. And for anybody who doesn't know what wholesaling is, it's like a really simple concept. You are literally finding motivated sellers that are either the seller is motivated or the property is in distress. They're willing to sell at a discount, and you work out a deal to put their house under contract, and then you flip your contract to somebody like Candy, who actually has money that's really looking for a deal, who doesn't have any time on her hands to go deal hunting. So you're basically matchmaking, and that's all wholesaling was. And so I was like, I could do this a bunch of times and get paid. And I got pretty good at it. And eventually I sell to somebody like you that renovates a property. I make $5,000 or $10,000, and you make $100,000.
Right.
And I'm like, dang it, I'm on the wrong side of the equation here. I need to be like her. And then finally you put a little power team together and you try a renovation. And so I started renovating. And then I got pretty good at that. And then I was like, you know what? I wonder if I could spec build something. And so I started putting up bigger money to spec build. And then my mentor was always yelling at me saying, Cody, you're not even really real estate investing. You just have a cool job. Yeah. Like, you're making money.
Well, it's still business at that point when you're flipping.
Oh, and I was working my tail off.
So you're not investing. You don't multifamily or commercial or anything. And people don't, I think this is like a good point for anyone that's new listening, is there is a massive difference between wholesaling, flipping, even spec building. Like, that's your business. That's still active income that you're paying the highest amount of tax on, as opposed to passively having investments in rental properties, commercial properties, multifamily, right? So I think that's important for anyone listening to know. To me, it was an expensive lesson because I thought the same thing. I didn't have a mentor. I was just figuring it out. And then I got this massive tax bill. And I was like, wait, I thought I was investing.
How much was your tax bill? Come on, let's compare tax bills.
It was in like 2001, right?
Yeah.
So I had just had my business. I was at like close to in my business, like with all the deductions, the highest tax bracket. And I thought that by taking this money out of my business and putting it into these investment properties that I was flipping, that I was going to lower my tax basis. No, I just threw it up higher, had this 6-figure tax bill that I didn't know was coming. And I think it's important for people to understand the difference.
Candy, I made my first year in wholesaling, I made $1.3 million earned income, right? Killed it. Spent every dollar.
Oh my gosh.
$600,000 tax bill.
Because you didn't pay anything in.
No, nobody taught me anything. Nobody said.
It's so true.
Nobody said, here's how to set up a proper bank account structure, and you got to actually go on payroll and payers. I was just taking draws like. It was like a personal piggy bank.
Wow.
And so that lesson was one of the best lessons I ever learned as an entrepreneur. And by the way, the best lessons come from like the biggest pain, like getting killed on taxes.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I got to own real estate. I got to depreciate. I got to find other write-offs. I got to figure this tax game out. Getting sued. I got to learn how to really dial in my paperwork and make sure that I really know and have good legal team.
Oh my gosh, I've been sued too.
So many times.
We all have those stories.
And look, it's part of being an entrepreneur. It's part of the process. And at the time, it really sucks. But, you go through it and you really level up. And so I got the tax bill. I'm like, I got to keep more of this real estate. And my mentor was a creative finance expert, which is actually really big coming back like in a major way right now. Because if you think about interest rates, in a low interest rate environment where money's flowing through, it's way easier to go and get a loan somewhere and, get into a piece of real estate when interest rates are 7, 8, 9, 10%. And like back in the 80s, it was 18%. It could go much higher than what it is right now. It doesn't make any sense to go to a bank. Try to qualify for a bad loan. And so what's hot right now is 5.7 trillion Americans, or $5.7 trillion worth of real estate. Over 40 million Americans refied into a 3.5% mortgage or less between 2020 and 2022. There are so many opportunities out there between free and clear properties and properties with phenomenal 2, 3, 3.5% mortgages on them, where the sellers are going to want to sell at some point, but it makes no sense to buy just the real estate, but it makes a lot of sense to buy the real estate and the financing that's built in.
Yeah.
And that's creative finance. How do you get the seller to participate in giving you the financing needed? And the last I haven't gone to a bank in a long time. The last like 15 or 20 houses we purchased that we turned into Airbnbs or into lease options or something like that were all creative finance, whether it was a subject to transaction or a wraparound mortgage or just a seller finance deal where they owned it free and clear and they sold me the property and they financed me and very little money down. A lot of these deals I can get in with little to no money down, no interest, principal only payments, and just walk right into a deal.
And are you finding them the same way of your wholesaling arm? Like you're looking for distressed properties, divorce, like is your kind of network, like for me, it was always like estate attorneys, divorce attorneys. Like I wanted to make sure I had those relationships. So when someone had a fire sale, they could reach out. Are you kind of doing that same thing with creative financing?
Look, it's pretty good to be Cody Sperber because I'm 18 years in.
Yeah.
It's a little different. I got a huge personal brand. I'm constantly putting out content. I'm constantly telling people to bring me deals. I actually created a course called Do Deals With Me so I can get my world to bring me more deal flow. Yeah. We spend a tremendous amount of energy on pay-per-click. And here's the thing, and I don't want to get too nerdy on you guys, but like you got to have a competitive edge nowadays. The world where if you understand like where we're at, like every 15 to 18 years, market cycles happen, and they haven't happened because COVID threw a monkey wrench in that market cycle. And because of supply and demand, real estate just shot up and we're still out of whack. Like there's a very big demand for more housing, especially affordable housing. And so you got to kind of play the game because a lot of people, when interest rates went from 3% to say 6 or 7% in last June in 2002, hedge funds stopped buying. The stock market crashed, money left the market. I know so many wholesalers that went out of business because their big client was a hedge fund. Hedge funds were buying 1 in every 4, 1 every 5 pieces of real estate in America. Wow. They were secretly destroying the middle class. And they stopped buying for a little while because it didn't make any sense financially because the stock market crashed and interest rates went up. And inflation was out of control. So for 5-6 months, the world was really tough for wholesalers. A lot of people went out of business. I didn't. Why? Because I use cutting edge strategies and technology that a lot of other people don't. So I'm aggressive. I use AI. And AI is big right now. I've been using it for 2 years. I mirror what hedge funds and big aggressive buyers do. Like I study greatness and I'm like, what are they doing that I don't know? How are they getting to the best deals? Well, to cut your lead costs down, what we did is there's smart data and there's big data. Big data is traditionally how everybody used to get deals. So you mentioned free and clear properties, vacant properties, pre-foreclosures, high equity, low equity. That's big data. There's 180 million homeowner records out there, and you could put them into little buckets. But if we take all of Phoenix, Arizona, which has 5+ million people or whatever in it with the whole Phoenix greater metro area, even if I whittle that bucket down to 40,000, I can't afford to market heavily to 40,000 people, like sending mail or paying for skip tracing and calling. It's expensive. Yeah. But what if I can whittle that down to 300 people and I can use AI to score every homeowner in Phoenix with like a score, right? Just like a credit score. And the higher the score, the better the chances based on this AI algorithm that they're going to sell at a discount within a certain period of time. So we're studying, looking at 1.3 million data points, billion data points, billion data points. Like what magazines do they subscribe to? What websites do they visit? What do they apply for? Whatever those billion data points are. And we're pulling them into this algorithm and we're saying, what is the propensity and probability somebody's going to sell at a discount within the next 90 days. And we score all these people, and we whittle that bucket down into a really tight little bucket, and then we market the crap out of them. And now we cut our lead cost in half, our conversion rates go through the roof, and we get way more deals. Wow. Aggressive, right? Yeah. And here's what's cool. This kind of technology is becoming more available to the common investor. We're building it. We built it into our deal automator software. Like investors are we're starting to use it. More people are starting to use it because it gives them a competitive advantage.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, and if the information is out there, it's how can you leverage it to your advantage? And really that's what you did. If you were starting over, because I know this is one of the questions everyone likes to know, like with all the information that you have, all the knowledge that you've done, all the different sectors and verticals that you've been in inside of real estate, if you were starting today, would you still start the same path? Do you still think in 2023 that there's an opportunity for someone? Because I know that was a tough 6 months that you're talking about, and we're starting to get a little bit, at least in my opinion, from what I'm seeing, that there's a little bit of like the market isn't as unsettled as it was just 6 months ago. Would you do the same thing now?
Yeah. Well, first off, we were doing I own a development company called Green Elephant Development. I got 23 houses being built right down the road from where we're filming this podcast. 23 houses. I'm floating $40 million. I'm very scared about that. Builders, it's like builders make a fortune in good times and they go bust in bad times. And when I'm floating this much money, it's very scary. So we're really tight on our construction. We went upstream and became vendors with all of our suppliers. Like we're really cutting costs down. We're building for profit, not for a brand. Like we shifted hard over the last year and a half. So I have that. We have our commercial division. We're killing it in the multifamily. I own an 81 unit down the street by ASU, awesome. And like we're buying a bunch of commercial. I own over 50 Airbnbs. A lot of them are luxury Airbnbs all over the place. They're all printing cash. Up until November, my world, like just my wholesaling world, I was doing about $250,000, $275,000 a month in wholesale profits. And it's just like a little side hustle business, right? It's not the main business. The main business is building and multifamily. Development, right? Yeah. Yeah. It went to 20,000 overnight. And it stayed 20,000 until December. January and February, I finally popped back up to about 150 to 175. So I'm seeing what you're seeing. Like the market is kind of coming back. So to answer your question, am I going all the way back to brand new?
Yeah.
Brand new. Okay. Here's the most important thing. Find your tribe. You got to get plugged in. Like I really believe that whether you're learning real estate or just general entrepreneurship or no matter what niche within real estate or any business, if you're by yourself, it is so much harder.
So true.
It is so much harder. And so find a tribe. I feel like we're all just a bunch of adults walking around with our umbilical cords trying to plug it into something. Like, come on, man, let's plug it in. And there's a lot of really great communities in the real estate space. Clever Investor has one. Yeah. I love what Pace Morby is doing with the sub-2 community. Like there's really great communities people can get plugged into. That's always step one. Just get in proximity to other people doing what you're doing. Back in the day, we used to have to go to the RIA meetings. That's how we did it, way back in the day. It's like once a month, the Real Estate Investor Association would meet up at some building and you would hang out and try to network. Well, now they're doing it online. They're doing it on Zooms. So get plugged in. That's number one. Number two is I think that creative finance is the most important thing. It's not about being a real estate investor or a real estate agent. It's about being a real estate expert. And so you really got to study your butt off, quickly learn wholesaling, learn creative finance, and also really push yourself to get into commercial. That's, if you were to ask me, my number one regret is not getting into commercial faster. And I know you do a lot of that kind of stuff. And it's like, I have a lot of friends. We started at the same time. I'll give a good example. My friend Joe. I went off and wholesaled and made millions, tens of millions. Developed, made tens of millions. He just really slowly bought trailer parks. And year 1, year 2, year 5, he would show up about once or twice a year and we'd have lunch and he'd go, Cody, I'm so jealous of you. You got Lamborghinis, you got this mansion. Like, I'm so jealous. About year 11, something happened. When he came into my office to hang out, he had a glow. And I'm like, where you been, dude? He goes, my ranch. I just bought a big ranch in like Montana. And I'm like, what have you been doing? He goes, oh, nothing. I just hang out on my ranch. Like, it's my family and I got this ranch. And I'm like, how are your trailer parks going? He goes, oh, really good. We're the 3rd largest private owner of trailer parks in the Southwest. And I'm like, how many trailer parks do you have? And he goes, oh, tens of thousands. Like, we got tons of trailer.
Gosh,
and I'm like, our individual mobile home units. I'm like, you what? I'm like, how much are you pulling in? And he goes, oh, I don't even want to tell you. It's embarrassing right now. Like, we had an offer for like $80, $90 million on our portfolio. And I'm like, I hate you. I literally hate you right now. I'm slaving away because I'm still working to earn money and he's free. Yeah. And he's free generationally. Yeah. And I wish I could go back and buy more. So
I love that. Number one, thank you for sharing that because it speaks so much to when we look back, if we stopped trading that instant gratification, the shiny objects, and we just went further down and really played the long game, it would just pay off even more. And that's basically what he did. And I did that on a much smaller scale. I didn't do trailer parks, but I was doing storage sheds. I was doing commercial unit. When all of my friends were partying and drinking and doing all the fun stuff. And there were so many moments, like you were just sharing, I was like, oh, did I make the right decision? But then when you're 40 and you're able to just not have to do anything anymore because you have passive income, it makes you start to think, well, maybe that was the right decision, even though it wasn't the flashiest decision of them all, right? And you said something, number one, you talked about mentors, which is so important. Like, we either learn from our mentors or our mistakes, right? And a ladder is so much more expensive and timely than anything else. When you look back, like, obviously, you were talking about the tax thing, right? We don't know what we don't know. And it's interesting that I find people only change two ways. Either the pain is great enough or they're inspired more enough. Like, they're inspired enough to make change, or the pain is great enough that they want to change. So we both had tax bills, right? So now we were like, shit, we got to learn tax strategy. When you look back, is there something along the way that you kind of knew that you should be doing, but you ignored it? And maybe it caused a lawsuit, or it caused you to not go his route, that when you say, I wish I could fix that, like, what's the one thing? If you could have done something different and we have a magic wand, what would it be?
Yeah, so, the answer to your question is find better partners. I wish I would have found better partners. My first few partnerships fell apart real fast because I partnered with people that weren't complementary to me. They were too like me. It's like two sales guys going off to try and like build an empire, and then like operationally everything falls apart behind them because they make sales and they don't know how to operationally run a business. And so I picked bad partners. I didn't go deep enough with them. We weren't in alignment with our goals and our core values and all that other stuff. So that's the short answer. When I got into real estate, I was an anomaly. I had so much desire. Like, my internal drive, I didn't need any external motivation. I didn't need anything. I had an insane amount of desire. And that came from pain. I was so tired of being broke. I was so tired of being out of control, picked on, bullied, pushed over, passed over. Like, I was over it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not cut out. I was in the military. I hate people telling me what to do. I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm going to control my time and my destiny. It's going to happen. And I became a savage with my vision. From day one, I said, I'm going to go off and get really, really rich. And if anybody gets in my way, I'm running you over. Like, I just knew it. But my ego probably carried me on a Lone Ranger path for too long. And I wish I would have found a mentor sooner, because I would have got to the money faster. I did it for 9 months on my own because I was too proud to ask for help. Then I quit the business for 4 months, and then I finally smartened up and went and I found a guy named Lyle at a seminar who is like this old Yoda wizard guy. And I was like, dude, I will do anything to get mentored by you.
Wow.
And what you realize now, how I operate, is I cut the check all the time as fast as I can. Like, right now, I'm happier than I've ever been, Candy.
Oh,
right now.
I'm so happier.
I'm you know why?
Why?
I'm in alignment with my purpose. When you're in alignment, everything opens up, opportunities, energy, people, relationships. You're able to go so much deeper. Like, I haven't been this happy as an adult ever. But I had to go through a lot to get here. You mentioned, like, you got to go through pain, two types of people. I'm not the type of guy that you can get, like, slapped or punched. I got to get fucking ran over.
Yeah.
Like, I'm that guy. Like, I'm either hard-headed or stupid or something, but, like, I just get ran over, and then you realize, like, when you hit rock bottom in your relationships, in your marriage, in your businesses, whatever that is, you realize two things. One, rock bottom has a basement. You can keep going. You can keep fucking it up and keep going down.
Yeah.
Like, it gets worse until you make the call and draw that line in the sand. And that happened for me at the beginning of 2022. You mentioned my wife. I'm actually going through a divorce right now.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I had no idea.
No, it's okay. We're cool. We're really cool. Last year in 2022, my mom passed away from cancer. At the same time, I told my wife, hey, I was cheating on you. I had to confront a lot of pain and a lot of my own personal demons. And I think, and there's nothing more dangerous than a rich, bored entrepreneur. because we can get in all kinds of trouble. And I always was able to get into trouble. I just channeled that pain into accomplishment for many years. And for 14 years, I was faithful. I did my thing. I was a great dad. I did my thing. But at some point when you become unhappy and you're out of alignment and, you start lying and here's the thing that I discovered, because I had to go through a lot of personal development, a lot of therapy, a lot of just looking myself in the mirror. And I'm telling you guys from experience, there's nothing more pitiful than a man who can't keep a promise to himself. And here I am, this successful guy, killing it from the outside, millions of followers, making all this money, big brand, and big guy, right? Big guy in the real estate space. But inside I'm in pain. I'm hurting and I'm acting out. And I didn't know how to stop it until my mom died. And my mom died in my arms. She had leukemia. Cancer's really rough way to go. And she went downhill real quick. And it was just me and my dad. And for the last 2 weeks of her life, we took care of her. And the last 48 hours, I was there giving her the lorazepam and the morphine and the moaning and the gurgling and the writhing. And I mean, it was tragic. It was literally the worst thing. And anybody who's ever lost anybody in front of them it's just awful. But you get to that really dark place and you're reflecting on like all of it, like what is going on? And it forced me to go do the one thing that I was scared to go do, which is confront my pain. Because how I grew up, my uncles were all drug addicts. One uncle went to prison and died in prison for being a pedophile. My grandparents were Pentecostal, very poor, grew up in a trailer park, abusive, recovering alcoholics, crazy, spoke in tongues, snake handling crazy. Scared the shit out of me. I didn't want to even get near religion because he cornered me in a corner one day and spoke in tongues for 20 minutes and told me I was going to lead a big flock someday. I mean, it was crazy. Like, I'm just a little kid, 10 years old, crying in a corner, can't get out. My mom, I walked in one day, I didn't even know she was bisexual. She's making out with some lady. Another time I walk in, my dad's having sex with his secretary on some stairs. Like, it's like I was a professional compartmentalizer and barrier.
Yeah.
And I would have been a great serial killer and that's why I'm a great entrepreneur. It's like a dark passenger that allows me to channel that pain and that frustration and that energy into accomplishment. So when I said I was a savage with where I was going at, I had to. It was my only outlet. Otherwise, I was going to end up in jail or prison or overdosing or doing something stupid. But I used business as my way out. And I was good at it. I got really good at it. But it's also the number one thing that holds you back. I didn't understand when people said like, oh, Cody, I could see you, like you're going to be big someday. You're going to unlock the next level. I didn't know what that meant. Now I do, because I went and had open heart surgery on my inner child. I put in years worth of therapy in EMDR and horse therapy and acting therapy and men's groups and addiction groups and all this stuff. When you go that deep on yourself, you really discover your purpose and who you are and your voice. And what I learned through all this, and sorry to get so deep on your podcast, but I'm going for it right now.
I appreciate you sharing.
Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs carry, and especially men, this toxic masculinity BS has got to go. I didn't cry for 10 years until my mom died. And then until I told Shannon what I've been doing. And my kids. I cry all the time now. I'm super connected. I pray every day, but I had to realize that I cannot give what I do not have. My intimacy circles were way out of whack. I didn't have a relationship with my creator. I didn't have my wife in the right spot. I had my business in front of me. I wasn't even loving on myself, let alone other people. I didn't unconditionally love me. So how do I give that to a partner?
Yeah.
We were best friends. We were cool. We're still best friends. We're great. We're great together. And she's amazing, like one of the best human beings on planet Earth. And we've leaned on each other as we've gone through this really tough time. And I'm a better dad I've ever been in the last 2 years. I'm a better dad. I have a better relationship with my kids than I've ever had in my life. I'm so in with them. I know their friends. I know their names. I know what they're doing. I know what motivates them. I know their fears. I know all of that because I finally got to a place where I'm like, I'm going to make it a mission in life to unconditionally love the people around me. But I had to do it for me first. Yeah. And guess what? And by the way, just side note, one of the first people I apologized to after I apologized to my wife for being out of alignment was to all my business partners. Because I said, if I could do it to her, I could do it to you. And I'm not a good partner for this, and I need to man the fuck up and I need to step up and set a better standard. And I'm better with my partnerships. And guess what starts happening when you're in alignment with everything? Money starts flowing. Opportunities start coming. The next level starts opening up. Now I understand what next level means. And just like I do with my real estate business, I invest and I cut the check in other areas of my life. My health, I got a 6-pack, Candy. You want to wash?
Congrats.
You want to wash something on my abs? Let's go. It's like I'm in the best shape I've ever been. Almost 45 years old, killing it. I'm so proud of myself. Of 2-a-days every day for 2 years. Hiring good coaches, hiring Wes Watson to help me teach me how to count macros, how to meal prep properly, how to really understand it in a healthy way. Now I'm doing it with my spiritual side. I just hired Erwin McManus, who's one of the best pastors out there, little private men's group. It's like, Erwin, what do I got to do to get proximity? Cut the check. Boom. Next thing you know, I'm part of this little men's group. And there's probably 15 super high-powered men in there. And I'm trying to get my relationship with God on, Yeah. And so now I'm thinking of it like my spiritual game on point, my health game on point, my dad game on point, my best friend game and co-parenting game on point, my business game on point. I used to just have one lane. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And before I follow up with anything, I just want to thank you for being so vulnerable and going there, because I think sometimes we are so wanting to put on this face and this facade of what people think we are and who we should be, and for you to just unprovoked bring that out. And I also apologize for having to mention it in the beginning of the podcast.
You didn't know.
But thank you for going there, because I think it shares a lot of people that regardless of how you're perceived, we all struggle with real things. And just because we have maybe success in one area doesn't mean that it's sunshine and rainbows in all the other places. And I relate to a degree as well, because when I was first in my business, I grew up in a trailer. I had abusive childhood. I had teenage parents. I was trying so hard to run from a life, right? You're just trying to run from that life and that existence because you'll do anything to be successful and make it. And so I get that. And I think sometimes what happens is we forget that we get to pause and choose what to run towards. It's like the big bad bear is no longer chasing you. You got to a point in your life where you didn't have to run as hard as you were, but it's the way you were wired for survival. So my question is, when you look back and you had that moment with your mom, and you even go before that, you said that, you were faithful for years and years and you had a great relationship. Was there a moment or something that kind of got you to cross the line? Because I always feel like we make bad decisions, humans, we all do it, when there's a slow fade. It's typically not something just
it was
jolts,
a slow fade.
Right? It's a slow fade. And I think that there's power in anything that someone's experiencing in life, because I know everyone listening is dealing with some sort of shit, whether they want to admit it or not. What was the slow fade? And if you're willing to say, what was it that just gave you the ability to man up and be like, hey, I have to tell her this?
Yeah.
Because that takes a lot of courage and strength, and I want to acknowledge you for that.
Yeah, and I did. I confessed on myself, But look, social media, it could be a great tool, marketing tool. It's also probably one of the worst negative influencers on a relationship. I actually really dislike it when it comes to relationships. I don't think it serves us well. Everybody is, the typical social media complaint. It's like everybody's fake on social. Grass is always greener on the other side.
And it's access.
And it's
right?
access.
When we were younger, you basically could date and be with the people in your community that you could meet.
Yeah.
Now it's there's access, and now people are trying to get access to you for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and I'm loud on Instagram. I got 1,200,000 followers, and my DMs are blowing up, you know, and a lot of hot chicks are in my DMs and a lot of beautiful people. And it's just like, you slowly allow things to go to your head, like I'm the man and I'm not getting what I want. You start justifying, you know, how things are. And look, for every new level, there's a new devil. It's just the way it is. And I just was too big of a wussy to really say how I was truly feeling. I mean, that's really it. And so I allowed justification over time of like, you know, I would go speak on stages and then like all these people would want to talk to me and I'm the man, you know, and then, you know, out of those people, a couple hot girls and they're like, well, hey, let me pick your brain. Can I buy you a drink? And it just slowly start stepping over into this gray area where it's just, if looking back now, like it's just unacceptable, you know, and you shouldn't do it. And I wish I would have brought her around more with me. I wish I would have got her own thing quicker. She was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. And now she's a badass breathwork facilitator, and her business is blowing up. Like, she's killing it. Like, and she really is changing lives. Like, the last year and a half, 2 years, I'm more attracted to her now than I have been in a long time, which is kind of crazy. Just because she is such a badass woman and how she treated me as I went through all of my transformation and all of my pain and our family and our kids, and just that unconditional love she showed me and the forgiveness she showed me while she was hurting worse than ever. Like, it was so admirable. I'm like, I want to be like you. Like, whatever that is, I need to bottle that up. And so, you know, the crossover was just one day. It happened. Like, it slowly built up, and then one day it happened. I justified it. It was only with one girl, but I justified it and I hid it, and lies built on lies. And next thing you know, you're just so far out of alignment that it was eating me inside. And the more Shannon worked on herself and built her business, and the more attracted I started to re-become with her, the more I knew I either have to get a divorce or I have to go and tell her. And you know what? She's such a strong woman. Even though I was the love of her life, even though I was her best friend, she has so much self-respect for herself that she said, this relationship is over. It's done. We can't fix it. I'm not going to stay. Now, there is an open door, meaning like we may get a divorce because we're in the process of it right now, and we might get remarried. You never know what the future holds. We still really, truly, on a deep level, love each other. But it sets a good standard for my daughter, for my son, that these are non-negotiables. It's a non-negotiable for her, and she held my feet to the fire for it. And in exchange, I went and put in the real work to show her and the family, I'm not scared to attack this head on. And that's it, you know, and it's still a journey. I got a long way to go, but I can tell you, being in alignment with truth and your purpose, I feel 10 million pounds lighter. I don't have any secrets with anybody. Like I said, everything's lining up. Everything's on point. I wish I would have done this 4 years ago when it happened. I wish I would have done it and immediately ran to her and said, I fucked up. I did this. We could have saved our marriage, I think, if I would have just immediately said, this just happened. I really screwed up. Because people make mistakes, you know, people screw up. But because I hid it for 4 years, that was the mistake. That was
you know, you said something that you feel lighter and more aligned. Is there a significance with your shirt, Free Man?
Free Man.
Is that how you're feeling?
That's how I'm feeling right now. Yeah, that's my vibe. And 2023 energy is winergy, baby.
I love it.
We're going all the way. Look, I'm striving for excellence in all areas of my life. And when you strive for excellence in all areas, do you know something, Candy? 1 in 10 people in America, 1 in 10 households are millionaires. Okay? 22 million people in America are millionaires. 1 in 25,000 have a six-pack. What is going on with people? Nobody wants to be the guy at the pool in a t-shirt with man titties, embarrassed to take their shirt off, but they have a Rolex on and they're like unhealthy. And you're like, dude, If you could do that in business, imagine what you could do with your health. And I bet you if you attacked the health thing, your business would light up too.
Yeah.
And if you felt more confident, you'd probably be able to get your relationship game on. It's just
spiritual, all of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just made the decision coming out of that pain. I was like, you know what? Winergy. I'm going to be excellent in all areas. And I'm going to set a standard for every person around me. They're going to feel me. I'm going to change the weather in every room I walk into.
It's so good.
And when you roll like that, good things happen to you. And respect is being built back up with my family because they see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's my number one goal. Because I regret heavily. A lot of men walk around with a lot of shame. And we do a lot of stuff. And guess what? You're going to screw up again. You're going to step backwards at times. You're going to fall. It's part of it. It's okay. As long as you're 1 degree working in the right direction every day, 1 degree, it starts to compound. I've walked backwards dozens of times in dozens of areas, but I'm relentlessly in pursuit of like growth and this pursuit of excellence. And if they operate like that, then eventually they will be free men.
I love that.
Yeah.
And do you feel that your spiritual journey and working with, like, was that something you had prior to?
No, I was actually because of my grandparents and my mom being so religious. I went to church as a kid, but I wouldn't have called myself religious.
Yeah.
And then before I told Shannon, I was secretly dipping away going to church. I liked the music. Mm-hmm. I liked the feeling it gave me just being in the building. But I would say, I'm going to the gym. I'd go sit in church.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And I would sit in the back and I wouldn't say anything. Then I started praying. I didn't know how to pray, so I was just talking, and it was a one-way conversation. I never heard anything back, never felt anything back for about 1.5 years. I'm just starting as I surround myself with other men that are in alignment with that. Alignment's the word of this podcast.
It is. I love it.
When I'm around, now I'm starting to maybe feel a little bit more and maybe hear a little bit more. I'm just now getting to the point where I'm actually reading the Bible more. Like I would pray, and I have prayer books and stuff like that, would have like passages from, but now I'm actually starting to like read it more. I don't even understand a lot of it, but I'm reading it. And like I said, I'm cutting the check to be in these men's groups because I want to be around better teachers and instructors and mentors in that department. And I don't know where it's going to take me. I'm not a big fan of organized religion. I never have been. Dude, I just saw something that the Mormon church got slapped by the SEC for having like a secret multi-billion-dollar hedge fund, like a $32 billion hedge fund.
Seriously?
Yeah. They didn't disclose it properly or something. I'm like, damn,
oh my gosh,
that's a lot of money. I mean, and I have a lot of Mormon friends. They know how to make money.
Yeah, they do.
They're good at the money game.
They all are.
And so I wasn't really big on that, but I do want to believe that there's more. Yeah. Because if I believe in, I've been in such painful places where it's like, I believe the devil is real.
Sure.
Something bad. I mean, there was a lot of bad negative forces pushing me down. Well, there's got to be the opposite.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. We'll see.
That's really exciting.
Ask me in a year next time I come back on.
We'll do a follow-up.
Yeah.
We'll do a follow-up.
I'll be like floating in here, zen'd out.
I love it. I think it's so important that you shared so openly. So I just want to, again, thank you for that. And knowing, I think I always ask this at the end of the podcast, but I think that sharing what you just shared, I'm so interested to see what your answer is compared to maybe if I would have asked you this question a few years ago. What is your definition of wealth?
Freedom. I mean, it's freedom. I don't care. I've had lots of nice things. I like nice things. I am gunning to get a private jet, but only because I want to be able to, I'm buying Airbnbs, luxury Airbnbs all across the world, and I want to be able to go to them and live in them when they're not being used as Airbnbs. So I want this travel lifestyle. For me, wealth, success, happiness, health, all of it, to me, at this point in my life, is an obligation. It's not a destination. I don't look at like, hey, if I get to $10 million or $50 million, like I've been making $10 million for 10 years now. Like, I don't know what it's going to be like. I've never made, my brands and my companies have done over 100 million. But I've never made 500 million. I've never I've never sold a big company and made like one massive payday. I'm just a hard worker and make money each year. But I can tell you this, it doesn't matter to me. It's the way I operate on a daily basis that matters. Success is a software program that I downloaded and I operate from. It's not a thing, a moment, a destination, or a goal. That's how I feel about wealth as well. I don't have a wealth number. Like when I hit this number, I'm done. As long as every day I wake up and I say, man, I'm free today. I really feel it. Nobody can. I've worked so hard to build a financial wall around me and my family. So I don't care about gas prices. I don't care who the president is. I don't care what's going on. And I don't watch news. Yeah, I'm not trying to surround myself with negative people. I'm not out, on social media hating on people. Like I don't do any of that because I'm in this little protected bubble built with real estate, which is why I love real estate as a vehicle. It's protecting me because I got the cash flow. I got the tax benefits. I got the earned income that comes from my quick flipping business. And I get to do it with people I love. How much more healthier and wealthier can I be? I know, right? I'm doing it with my business partners are all my best friends. Oh, how cool is that?
That's really awesome.
And we've been best friends for 15 years or more. And I get to hang out with them every single day. And guess what? They got into this business because they saw me doing it. They had their own successful businesses. One owns 2 Buffalo Wild Wings, and one owned a big screen printing apparel business. And now we're all partners building and flipping. And guess what? They're making more money than they've ever made. Their families are becoming financially free because of it. And we get to do it together.
And you're having fun.
And we're having fun.
What else could you be doing? Like that to me is the epitome of really getting it. To not have secrets, to be able to show up as you authentically all the time, to be aligned with what it is, to be doing fun. Like that is a very few small percentage of people, sadly, that get to do that. And so
let's strive to be millionaires with 6-packs and great relationships.
What's that percentage?
Very low.
Very, very low.
Every person listening to this, that needs to be you. That's the goal for 2023.
Millionaires with a great relationship, prays every day, knows who their God is, and has a 6-pack.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Amen.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for showing up as authentic and vulnerable as you have, and just to be able to help and inspire other people along the journey.
Can we get Candy's podcast some 5-star reviews, please? Look, don't let me disclose my whole personal thing without hooking her up. Let's blow this podcast up. Share it with some entrepreneurs that actually need to hear this message, because there's a lot of people out there that are secretly struggling, and at the same time, give her a 5-star review.
Thank you.
See, I'm good for you.
You're good.
Bring me back.
Let's just do this once a month.
There we go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
I appreciate it.